It is 5:14 in the morning. Grace is 44 years old. She is sitting at her kitchen table before anyone else in the house is awake. Her Bible is open. Her notebook has 3 pages of numbers that do not add up the way she needs them to. There is a cup of coffee beside her that she forgot to drink while it was still warm. And in the quiet of that early morning, she bows her head and says something that you may have said yourself. Lord, what can I still build with what is already in my hands? If you are a Christian woman over 40 and you feel like you are financially behind, like the income is not steady, like the expenses keep rising, like you have been praying for a door to open and nothing has moved yet, I want you to stay right here with me. Because today we are going to walk through 7 biblical income ideas from Proverbs 31 that most Christian women completely miss. And I am going to plant one question in your heart right now that I want you to hold all the way through to point 7. What if the income door you keep praying for is already hidden in what God placed in your hands? That answer is coming. But first, we have to talk about a woman you already know. A woman Scripture never gives a name. We just call her the Proverbs 31 woman. Now, before we go any further, I want to clear something up, because a lot of women hear Proverbs 31 and they feel pressure. They feel like it is describing some kind of perfect woman they can never become. But that is not what this passage is doing. Proverbs 31 is not a standard of perfection. It is a portrait of faithful stewardship. It shows what a woman of God looks like when she puts her hands, her wisdom, and her faith to work. Look at what this woman actually did. She worked with her hands. She traded in the marketplace. She considered and bought land. She managed the needs of her household. She protected her family through planning and preparation. She reached out to help those in need around her. She made and sold goods. She multiplied what she had been given. She was not waiting for someone to rescue her. She was building with wisdom, with faith, with her hands. And that is exactly the model we are going to follow today. 7 biblical income categories rooted in what Scripture actually shows us a woman of God can do. These are not get-rich schemes. These are not fast money ideas. These are dignified, practical, faith-grounded income paths that honor God and serve real people. Grace is still at that table, and she is about to find out that the answer she was praying for is already in the pages she already has open. Let us begin. Point 1. Service income. Proverbs 14 verse 23 tells us that in all labor there is profit. And in Proverbs 31 verses 13 and 17, we see the Proverbs 31 woman working with willing hands and strengthening herself for her tasks. She did not outsource her effort. She leaned into it. Service income is the most accessible starting point for many women over 40. It requires skill and effort, but it does not require a degree, a storefront, or a large investment. Think about what service means in practical terms. Cleaning homes, caring for elderly adults or children, organizing spaces, preparing meals or cooking for busy families, running errands, assisting with personal tasks, supporting someone who needs help around the house. Here is something important. Service income honors work as worship. When you show up for someone with integrity and care, you are not just earning, you are serving. And Scripture connects those two things directly. Hard work produces profit. That is a biblical promise, not a motivational slogan. If you are thinking right now that what you have to offer is ordinary, I want you to hear this. Ordinary faithfulness is how God moves. The Proverbs 31 woman did not start by owning a field. She started by working with her hands. So can you? And here is a curiosity question to carry into point 2. What if one of the skills you use every single week without thinking is actually worth money to someone else right now? Point 2. Skill income. Proverbs 31 verse 13 and verse 19 give us a picture of a woman who seeks material to work with and who puts her hands to the task with purpose and skill. She knew how to do something, and she used it. Skill income is different from service income in one important way. Service is often about showing up physically. Skill is about what you already know how to do well. Think about what lives in your hands and your mind: sewing or alterations, graphic design or simple visual work, administrative skills like organizing, scheduling, or data entry, writing, editing, or proofreading, event or party planning, budget coaching, tutoring, childcare guidance, or consulting. Many women over 40 have decades of skill and do not see it as income because they have only ever used it at home or for free. But skill has value. Your ability to plan, to write clearly, to design something beautiful, to manage a household budget, these are things other people genuinely need and will pay for. Grace wrote down her list, and halfway through the page, she stopped and said out loud, "I did not realize I knew this much." That is a moment many women have when they actually sit down and take inventory. Your skill set is not ordinary. You just stopped seeing it. Which brings us to point 3. Because once you have identified your skills, there is a natural next step, and it has been sitting in Proverbs 31 all along. Point 3. Marketplace income. Proverbs 31 verse 24 says, "She makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant." She created something and she brought it to a buyer. That is marketplace income in its most direct form. Today, the marketplace is bigger than it has ever been in human history. You do not need a stall at a physical market. You can sell from your kitchen table. Think about planners and organizers you design, handmade home goods or crafts, secondhand items you no longer need, digital files like templates, guides, or printable sheets, simple resources that solve a small problem for someone else. The Proverbs 31 woman understood that what she made had value to someone else. She did not keep it. She took it to market. That is a stewardship principle. If you have something of value, putting it to use for others is not greed. It is faithful multiplication. Have you ever made something, helped someone with something, or solved a problem that someone later said they would have paid for? That moment matters more than you realize. And point 4 will show you why. Point 4, ownership income. Proverbs 31 verse 16 says she considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. This is the income category that most people skip right over because they think ownership requires a lot of money up front. But look at what Scripture actually shows us. She considered first, she evaluated, then she bought, and then she planted from what she had already earned. This is a process, not a single moment. Modern ownership income does not have to mean real estate or stocks. For a woman starting from a modest position, ownership income might look like a digital product you create once and sell repeatedly, a single template that solves a common problem, a small tool or guide, a skill-based offer that you package into something repeatable, a tiny business asset that works while you sleep. The key idea here is this: The Proverbs 31 woman moved from labor to ownership. She was not just working for today. She was building something that would continue producing. That shift from trading your time for money to owning something that earns is one of the most important financial transitions a woman can make. You do not have to start big. You start with what is already in your hands and you plant it well, which is exactly what leads us to point 5. Because before you can build outward, you have to make sure the foundation inside your home is solid. Point 5. Household stewardship income. Now this one surprises people because it does not look like income from the outside. But Proverbs 31 verses 15, 21, and 27 show us a woman who managed her household with intention. She rose early. She watched over the activities of her home. She was not idle. And Proverbs 21 verse 20 adds something important. There is precious treasure and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish person swallows it up. Household stewardship income is the money that stays in your home because of wise management. And it is real money. When you build a consistent budget and follow it, you create margin. When you plan your meals intentionally, you reduce waste and lower your grocery costs. When you organize your bills and remove subscriptions you forgot about, you find money that was already leaving quietly every month. When you stop spending emotionally, you protect what you have worked for. A woman who saves $200 a month through wise stewardship has effectively earned $200. The Proverbs 31 woman did not just earn more, she managed well. Both matter equally. And for women who feel stuck right now, this is often the first income door that opens, not because you made more, but because you stopped losing what you already had. How much money have you earned in your lifetime that has passed through your hands without a plan? Because wisdom, applied to what you already have, can change your financial story starting today. Stay with me, because what I am about to show you in the next 3 minutes is the part most believers completely skip, and it is exactly why they stay stuck. Point 6. Wisdom income. Proverbs 31 verse 26 says she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Titus 2 verses 3 through 5 adds this. Older women are to teach what is good, to guide and instruct younger women in practical, faithful living. That is a calling and a biblical assignment. But here is what many women do not realize. Wisdom has economic value. Wisdom income looks like this. Mentoring younger women through a paid coaching session or a small group program, creating faith-based journals or guided workbooks, running a workshop on budgeting, meal planning, home organization, or parenting from a biblical foundation, teaching a practical skill you have used for years, building a simple faith-based resource that helps women navigate a challenge you have already walked through. You do not have to be a professional. You have to have walked through something that someone else is currently walking into. Your testimony, your process, your hard-won knowledge, that is curriculum. And when you put it into a guide, a journal, a class, or a mentoring relationship, you are fulfilling Titus 2 while also generating income with integrity. Drop stuck or building in the comments right now? Which one describes where you are today? Because this conversation is not just for one woman. It is for every woman at that kitchen table who needs to know there is a biblical path forward. And now we arrive at point 7, the one I told you about at the very beginning, the one grace needed most, and honestly, the one that may unlock something for you today that no other point has reached yet. Point 7. what is in your hand income? I want to take you to two passages. The first is 2 Kings chapter 4 verses 1 through 7. There is a widow. Her husband has died. She has debt. Creditors are coming to take her children. She goes to the prophet Elisha in desperation, and Elisha asks her a question that changes everything. He does not say, "Let me find a miracle for you." He says, "What do you have in your house?" She says she has nothing except a small jar of oil. And Elisha says, "That is enough. Gather every empty vessel your neighbors have. Pour the oil. Do not stop." And she poured, and the oil did not stop flowing until she ran out of vessels to fill. Then she sold the oil. She paid her debt. She and her children lived on the rest. God did not create something from nothing. He multiplied what was already in her hands. Now go to Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30, the parable of the talents. A master gives his servants different amounts. The ones who were faithful multiplied what they had been given. The one who buried his portion out of fear lost everything. And the master said the same thing to both faithful servants. Well done, good and faithful servant. Here's the question I planted at the beginning of this video. What if the income door you keep praying for is already hidden in what God placed in your hands? This is the answer. It is not coming from somewhere outside of you. It is already present inside the life you are already living. And I want to name exactly what that might look like for you right now. What do you have in your hands right now? You have time pockets, early mornings, quiet evenings, lunch breaks, 15 minutes here and there that have no assignment yet. You have skills, things you do so naturally that you forget they took years to develop. You have knowledge, real knowledge from real seasons of life that someone younger than you desperately needs. You have a phone. You can record, create, connect, and communicate with it. You have a laptop or access to one. You can create documents, templates, and simple resources. You have a kitchen table, which is exactly where Grace is sitting right now, and where you might be sitting too. You have relationships, people who have seen how you handle hard things. You have a quiet morning, which is one of the most underused strategic assets a woman has. Let me bring this full circle now. Grace did not wake up that morning and suddenly become wealthy. She did not find a miracle shortcut. She did not close her Bible and open a get-rich-fast website. She sat at her kitchen table in the early morning quiet. She prayed. She studied what was already in the pages she already had open. And she began to see that the path forward was not one miracle door. It was 7 smaller doors that had been there all along. Service, skill, marketplace, ownership, stewardship, wisdom, and what was already in her hands. Proverbs 13 verse 22 says a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. That is not just a promise. That is a generational assignment. It is saying that the work you do today, even the small obedient steps you take this week, matters beyond your own lifetime. What you build with integrity and wisdom now can serve children you have not yet seen become adults. That is a long view, and it is a biblical one. If you want a practical next step, the Proverbs 13:22 Wealth Rebuild Workbook is in the description below. It is free. It was built for exactly where Grace was sitting this morning. It walks you through each of these income categories with biblical reflection questions and simple action steps that do not require a lot of money or a background in business. It was built for the kitchen table, for the early morning, for the woman who is ready to stop waiting and start building with what is already in her hands. Drop building in the comments if you are ready to rebuild with wisdom. I read these comments. I pray over the women in this community, and I want to know where you are today. The blueprint has always been there. You just have not opened this chapter yet. Open it now. God bless you, and I will see you in the next one.